Yeah, so as Derek said, what I'd like to do is talk a little bit about Shuttle, who we are, what we're doing, how we do it, why we're doing it, and I think it will kind of become clear as to how we fit into a conference on customer experience. Because what we've tried to do is to completely transform the delivery experience, and I think it's had some pretty interesting repercussions on the industry. So the first thing is really to start off. Is that Shuttle is not a logistics business. The first thing to know about us is that we're a pure software play. So small team, 35 people, based here and now in San Francisco. The vast majority of our team are engineers. Having said that, we do have as investors two of the world's largest logistics businesses in UPS and also Geopost, which is part of La Poste Group. Other investors are all purely financial as VCs. We've been working on our service now for about 4 years. 3 of those years, we've been live with customers. And by most measures, in terms of growth in turnover, employees, we are one of Europe's fastest growing technology businesses and obviously market cap. And we're focused on one thing, right, and one thing only, which is giving shoppers what they want when they want it. Now, the big picture in terms of what we're doing is that shoppers have now been buying online since the web looked like this, right? 30-odd thousand pages being indexed by Yahoo. Google passed the trillion index mark 4 years ago. Right, so in the time since we started buying online, the web has gone from tens of thousands of pages to trillions of pages. Right, the web is a very different place today from 1994. Today, e-commerce, this last Christmas, exceeded the 12% of retail sales mark, expected to reach 17% in the next 5 years. Right, as a trend, e-commerce is inevitable. And the reason for that, right, is the customer experience, right? The reason why we buy online is that it's quick and convenient and easy, right? Things which delivery is not known for being. So today's consumer, just like the online shopper in '94, must wait a day or many days for delivery, which takes place at a time determined by a courier company and not by the end consumer. Now, as a result of that, there's a relatively high incidence where there's either a failed delivery attempt that results in multiple redelivery attempts, or at the other end of the spectrum, complete delivery failure, the cost of which ends up getting picked up by retailers and eventually, obviously, by consumers. And this is what everyone talks about as the delivery problem, right? But it's not. At least it's just the tip of the iceberg. The real delivery problem is the indirect cost. Delivery's been shown to be the single greatest inhibitor to conversion within a retailer's checkout. Number one reason why a consumer that starts buying online doesn't complete their purchase, for reasons of either price, convenience, or speed. Now, when you consider that the majority of consumers that start buying online don't complete their purchase, it gives you a sense of the scale of the problem and also the opportunity. Around 5% of online revenue is reinvested back into marketing, into helping acquire and retain customers. Right? Over 40% of that spend is wasted by delivery. We're not even talking about the actual lost sales, just the marketing spent on lost sales. And that's not that surprising when you look at what consumers think about delivery. Right? The majority of comments made by consumers about delivery are negative. This is all a big deal because delivery is the last interaction that a retailer has with their customer. Right? Beyond the product itself, the delivery experience is probably the single greatest influence as to whether or not the consumer is going to shop more or less with a retailer in the future. And unless a retailer owns their supply chain right up to the doorstep, like kind of Ocado do, delivery is always going to be out of the retailer's control. Now, it's not all negative. We believe delivery also has the capability to be the greatest weapon that multi-channel retailers with stores, have against the greatest threat they and their industry face. Amazon compete and win in two key battlegrounds, and they're battlegrounds where they have a sustainable competitive advantage, right? Where multi-channel retailers are, by virtue of being multi-channel retailers, disadvantaged. And the two battlegrounds that they compete and win on are price and range. Now, just to give you a sense of how uneven these battlegrounds are, let's take range as an example. Right, at the top here, we've got Argos, UK's largest multi-channel retailer, non-grocery. Then we've got Walmart underneath them, the world's largest retailer of any kind, and then we've got Amazon, world's largest online retailer. Argos in the UK, they sell around 30-odd thousand products, so 30,000 SKUs. Walmart, the world's largest retailer, they sell around 200,000 SKUs. Right? Does anyone in here want to take a guess at how many products, unique products, that Amazon sell just in the US? So just if you're buying from Amazon.com. Someone, don't be shy. How many? 4 million. It's not bad. Anyone else? Give you a clue.
8 million. Okay, 22 million. Oh my God.
Amazon have almost 1,000 times the products that Walmart have. Right? And actually, it's not entirely true, because Walmart have another 1.8 million that they sell now just through warehouse and dropship, but which are a tiny proportion of their overall sales. Right? So depending on how you look at SKUs, Amazon have between 100 times and 1,000 times the products, the range of the world's largest retailer. Right? And that's Walmart. Right? What hope does anyone else have? Now, the reason for this is pretty simple. Right? Amazon aren't limited by what they can put in their stores. They're limited by what they can put in their warehouses. And what their partners that sell through their platform can sell through their marketplace. And anything that ends up in the Amazon marketplace that sells well, mysteriously ends up in Amazon's own warehouses. It's kind of best possible market research. And Amazon's warehouses are huge. This is one up in Scotland. They've got 8 of them across the UK. They'll have 50 by the end of this year across the US. They tend to be located in the middle of nowhere, where land and labor is cheap. Multi-channel retailers, conversely, need hundreds of thousands of stores across the UK, and those stores need to be located near where consumers are, where land and labor is expensive. And actually, on the subject of labor, Amazon's warehouses are obviously very, very efficient, right? But they're going to get even more efficient. The second largest acquisition Amazon have ever made, they made last year, was a business called Kiva. Does anyone here know what Kiva does? It's a robotics business. Right? It's about automating their warehouses. Now, this isn't anything new. Right? Amazon have never had stores. However, 1994, right, when e-commerce was 0, it didn't really matter, because multi-channel retailers were buying for the market. Right? They're buying for 100% of the market. Now they're buying for 88% of the market, and that gave them huge buying power, which overcame Amazon's cost advantage. Now today, with e-commerce at 12%, Amazon have a 20% price advantage on Walmart. Right? What do we think is going to happen when e-commerce reaches 15% or 20%? Right? The key takeaway here is no one has a chance of competing with Amazon on price and range. Right? And there's no point in even trying. Smart multi-channel retailers have realized that and have said, well, if we can't compete on price and range, how can we compete on something else? Right? On experience, on service. And it's no surprise, therefore, that actually the fastest growing trend in e-commerce over the last 5 years, in absolute dollar terms, is multi-channel and specifically click and collect. Right? Order online, collect in store. A way for multi-channel retailers to use the one thing they have that Amazon will never have, their stores. Right? Why is click and collect so popular? So it'd be slightly facetious, but what I say is that delivery sucks. Right? The problem is you can't get your stuff delivered to you where you want, when you want, at a price that makes sense. Right? The solution to the problem is probably not getting it delivered somewhere you don't want at a time you don't want, but is better than the alternative. Now, the interesting thing is today, e-commerce is delivered the same way for Amazon as it is for Walmart, as it is for everyone in e-commerce. Right? And that's using hub and spoke courier companies. So the kind of UPSs and FedExes of this world. And they work by sending one vehicle out on a route, making collections, usually from a warehouse. They bring back to a hub, they sort, they distribute, and then they send those deliveries out on multiple vehicles, running on multiple delivery routes, usually the next day. Now, the reason that everyone uses hub and spoke couriers for delivery is quite simple. It is the only cost-effective way of sending something from A to B, so long as the distance between A and B exceeds 10 miles. The interesting thing is, where the delivery distance is under 10 miles, it can be cost-effective, sometimes and it can even be more cost-effective, to send a courier straight from collection to delivery. The challenge is that the hub-and-spoke courier companies, these guys, can't do those point-to-point deliveries because all their vehicles are running on preordained routes. Right? They simply don't have the flexibility within their delivery networks to do ad hoc point-to-point. The guys that do those point-to-point deliveries are these guys. There are around 3,000 of them in the UK. These businesses are local rather than national. Their brands retailers don't know, their brands consumers have never heard of. And individually, none of these businesses are big enough or national enough to serve the e-commerce delivery market. And that's where Shuttle comes in. We are an aggregator and secondary market for the capacity of these local point-to-point courier companies. So the courier companies come to us, and within our platform, they specify what vehicle types they operate, everything from bicycle up to truck. Right? And each vehicle type has a different set of capacity constraints, so maximum size and weight of an item they can carry. For each vehicle type, the courier company says where they collect from, where they deliver to, they say the times of day and days of week that they operate that vehicle type, and they specify their pricing in a standardized format, which is a minimum charge for a 2-mile journey and then a mileage rate thereafter. So all that we've done is we've taken the physical existing capacity of these courier companies and we've represented it within our platform. We then give our courier partners an interface that they can use to manage that capacity day to day. So they can see how well they're doing, they can see what deliveries they're getting, not getting. Essentially, we've taken a market that was disconnected, opaque, illiquid, and we've made it operate like a market. We've made it open, we've made it transparent, and we've made it liquid. Now, that's kind of the supply side of our business, right, and of our market. The demand side is how we're kind of known to retailers and consumers, right? Which is that Shuttle is a branded fulfillment option offered within our retail partners' existing customer journeys, right? Think of us like a PayPal, as Derek said, but for awesome delivery. We take data out of our retail partners' systems in real time, which enables us to provide the shopper with a dynamic promise for the world's fastest, most convenient delivery option. So with Shuttle, the consumer can choose to receive their order either right away, and we'll tell them the number of minutes we can deliver to them within. The usual promise is within 90 minutes of purchase. Our quickest delivery to date took less than a quarter of an hour. Or they can choose a 1-hour delivery window. Today, tomorrow, the service operates 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, and can be offered to the shopper at a comparable price point to standard delivery, which often even means free. Right? If you buy anything from Oasis and you spend over £75, Shuttle is free. Right? We're not talking about being about distressed purchases. Right? Our view is, if you can give for us, it's not about why would you use it. right? It's not about, I need this thing right now. It's about, why wouldn't you, right? If you can get the cost of this service to around the same price as standard delivery, right, it's kind of a no-brainer. And that's where we're heading. So what we've done in the background to get that price and promise is we've gone and hit each of the relevant carriers within our platform. So each of our courier partners that has the required vehicle type or larger that operates between the collection delivery pair, the required time of day, day of week. We generate a quote from each of them on the basis of the data they've already input within our platform. We weigh the quotes according to how well they've performed on their past transactions. We take the best mixture of price and quality, which we determine. We add our margin onto that, and we return that back to our retail partner and consumer. Now, our retail partners have the ability to alter that price, right? We don't let our retail partners mark the service up, right? Because we're trying to get the cost to the consumer as low as possible. But we do encourage them to subsidize, usually according to a basket value threshold as a means of driving conversion, right? And when priced correctly, the incremental gross profit that's generated from the higher rate of conversion on those higher basket value transactions will exceed the cost of the subsidy, right? This is the same principle that sits behind free shipping. Obviously, there's no such thing as free shipping. If the consumer chooses the shuttle option when they check out, we then send the delivery via an API straight into the chosen courier company's order management system. And for the courier company, it's like any other delivery that they do. They're responsible for allocating delivery to one of their couriers who they believe can collect and deliver within the requisite timeframes. The courier will collect usually from a store rather than from a warehouse because the key is keeping that delivery distance short and deliver to the consumer. We have another API with our courier partners where we take live data out. So for example, we know the GPS location of the courier that's doing the delivery at all times. We serve that up onto a tracking page and we email it to the consumer. So the consumer can watch their courier moving in real time from collection to delivery. Right, now, we're also taking via that API status updates. So we know what time the courier company collected, and we know what time they delivered. And we know what time they were supposed to collect and supposed to deliver. So from that, we know whether or not they performed within service expectation. And if they did, their quality rating improves. If they didn't, it worsens. It's the quality rating that's weighing their bid price. So the net effect is the courier companies that do a better job get access to more volume and more margin from us versus the courier companies that didn't perform so well. And the quality of the experience is what matters to us for one very simple reason. We put our name on it, right? The proposition is always branded shuttle. We never white label, right? If our view is, if we do a good job on our first delivery, we'll make the consumer more likely to choose us the next time they see us. But if we do an awesome job, right, if we surprise and delight the consumer, we can make the consumer more likely to purchase. We can even influence where they go to make that purchase, right? So for us, our play is about building a digital brand that the consumer will be loyal to, that will inform and influence the buying process. We see our retail partners' customers as our customers too. Right? And our interests are aligned. We send the consumer this email 2 or 3 seconds after they've received their delivery, where we ask them to rate the qualitative aspects of the experience, right? How they rate our service in terms of ease of use, value for money, speed of delivery, and the delivery person. We ask them if they've shopped with the retailer before. We ask them what they would have done had shuttle not been offered. And we ask them a net promoter question, Bain's measure of customer satisfaction. Score us 0 to 10. How likely would you be to recommend shuttle to a friend or colleague? It's a long form. Almost 20% of consumers respond and answer all of those questions on that long form. Right? The only non-mandatory is once they've left that feedback, they get asked the question, tell us how we can improve the service. Anything that goes in that free text field streams out live, unedited, onto our homepage and our feedback page. So you can go to shuttle.com and you can see the live stream of comments. Click through it and you can see this. This is a little out of date. But the key here is, like, from our perspective, what we're doing is not really about delivery, right? It's about that customer's experience. Our play to a retailer therefore actually doesn't have a whole lot to do with delivery, right? For us, it's about delighting our retail partners' customers, right? Our net promoter is higher than any retailer in the world. It's higher than Apple, right, who are considered the leaders over here. And if I'm entirely honest, and I am sometimes, our service, consumers, we kind of measure our expectations against our past experiences, right? And for us, our job is very easy because consumers' expectations around delivery are very low, right? So it's easy for us to blow those expectations away. But obviously that makes things more difficult than for traditional delivery and, of course, for us next time around. It's about improving conversion, and it's about providing our retail partners with a competitive advantage against the greatest threat that they and their industry face. And so far, so good. Almost a quarter of consumers using Shuttle say they wouldn't have purchased had Shuttle not been offered, at least not that session. And these are higher basket value transactions, right? There's a degree of self-selection because usually the service at the moment does have some kind of premium. But by improving conversion for those higher order value transactions, right? Those are the transactions that have disproportionate impact on gross profit and also obviously bottom line. But we don't see ourselves as a transactional business, right? For us, it's about customer satisfaction and the customer's lifetime value, right? They're not, we provide an awesome experience. That doesn't just mean the shopper's going to come back to us. That experience has a halo effect on the retailer, right? Even if they don't choose to use Shuttle next time around, there's significant value in that. These are the retailers that we're working with in the UK at the moment in kind of different ways, shapes, and forms. We're not the only guys to be making a lot of noise about same-day delivery, right? Actually, well, that's not true. We were for the last 3 and a bit years. And actually, it was, our life in the UK was very, very difficult because we would go to retailers here and we'd say, we can enable you to use your stores to provide a service Amazon can't and win customers away from Amazon and provide an awesome customer experience. And retailers would go, yeah, but no one else is doing it. So customers don't want it. And we'd say, well, no one else is doing it, but that's the opportunity for you because if you can provide something awesome, right, you'll get. But people didn't respond to that. We found it took us years over here. We used to get sent off to see guys in sheds in the middle of nowhere. It took us years to get to the point that we were having the right discussions with the right kind of retailers. Now the US is completely different, and the reason for that is very simple, right? These guys last year in the US. Amazon announced that they were going to give up their sales tax advantage. So a big advantage they had historically in the US is they didn't have to pay sales tax because 99% of the time the package being ordered was being shipped from another state. And that was a significant advantage, which translated to a bit of a cost advantage before they had huge scale. Amazon last year said, we're going to give it up, right? Not because they wanted to level the playing field, but because they said, we believe that providing faster delivery, right, potentially even cost-effective same-day delivery is that important, right? And so they invested, this is why they've now, by the end of this year, they'll have 50 of these DCs across the US, right, enabling faster delivery, potentially even cost-effective same-day in some markets. They piloted their same-day service in 10 metros, and where they advertise within the product page, same-day delivery. And only to Amazon Prime customers. And those Amazon Prime customers pay $3.99 to upgrade to same-day delivery. Where same-day delivery was offered, they saw a 25% increase to conversion, regardless of whether or not consumers ended up choosing it. Right? Now, that scared the crap out of every other retailer. eBay, arguably number 2 online retailer. Right, they acquired a business called Milo a couple of years ago, which takes stock information from local retailers. They built an app on top of Milo to enable consumers to purchase those items, which an eBay employee, a courier, would then go and collect from the store, pay for the item in the store with a credit card, right, and then deliver to the consumer. eBay's CEO, Donahoe, stood up at the Goldman Sachs conference about 6 weeks ago and said, same-day delivery is inevitable and it will be the future of eBay. Google last month launched their same-day service in San Francisco, where they essentially copied eBay. They built a business called Local Shopping that took stock information from retailers, combined it with wallet and checkout, and they've now enabled you, if you're in San Francisco or the peninsula, enable you to purchase items that are in those retailer stores to get same-day delivery. And they're offering it at the moment for free. Walmart, the world's largest retailer, right, have said a number of different things about the things that they're piloting in same-day delivery. We, however, are the only guys globally that have made this work at scale. We have thousands of couriers on the ground in over 70 towns across the UK now. Pretty much every town with a population of over 100,000 we are now serving. It's about 85% of UK by population. Now, we're a little behind, but we're now launching in the US next month. So we're starting with New York, San Francisco, and Chicago, but we've got another 17 metros that we're launching in by the end of the year. And actually, we expect by very early next year for the US to be our largest market. Those 20 metros give us 3 times the population that we have in those 70 here in the UK. Now, the question that everyone always asks is, right, do consumers really want, or certainly do they need same-day delivery? And actually, BCG did this survey a couple of months ago where they basically asked consumers, do you want same-day delivery? And apparently only 9% of them said yes. And so people always like, do consumers really want same-day delivery? Well, for me, it comes back to what I was saying before about consumers and expectations, right, and how we measure them. Now, the thing about expectations is they only move forwards, right? Today, consumers, with the exception of shuttle over here and in a small way currently in the US, consumers have not really experienced same-day, let alone same-hour delivery. I mean, I think we established that no one in here had. But the thing about expectations, they only move forwards, right? Those expectations are going to change, not just because of what we're doing, but because of what the world's largest retailers and e-tailers are doing. And there's a story that American comedian called Louis C.K. tells, which kind of, for me, really, really epitomizes this. Cool. And that's what I got. So I'm happy to take any questions if anyone has them. Otherwise, people can leave early. Or not.
You're not going to let him go early, are you?
Was that breathtaking?
No.